Hello students and my dear friends, I'm Dr. Shalini Shukla and today is 19th of June 2020 Friday. So let's start with the Economic Times news analysis. In today's discussion, we are going to cover these articles. So let's start with article number 1. India set to erect a great wall against Chinese companies. We all are continuously discussing about this news that amid the increasing hostility between the borders of India and China, both countries are exercising their economic rights to curb the economic interdependence among each other. India is considering multiple comprehensive measures to curtail the country's economic reliance on China. Especially India is targeting on trade, investment and project services by these Chinese firms. So in case of government contracts and infrastructural projects, Indian side is going to put restrictions on participation by Chinese companies. From the trade point of view, Indian government is going to impose higher tariffs on imported Chinese finished good as creating a new hurdles for Chinese import to India. On the other hand, Government of India is also reviewing the free trade agreements that are extensively being used by the other countries to export their goods indirectly to India. So India is also reviewing all the free trade agreements that country India has with other countries, not only with China, with other countries, so that indirect import from Chinese firm can also be halted. So for discussing all these issues, a high level meeting is being expected soon. In that, all key stakeholder ministers, top officials from Prime Minister office will participate and will discuss about the future decisions and policy measures by Indian government to curb the invasion of China. And if we talk about the trade side, in financial year 19, China has imported goods up to the value of $70 billion in Indian market. So now India is trying to curb this import from China, and this is the largest import to India than any other country to India. And if we talk about the deficit in last financial year 19, India had a $53 billion trade deficit with China. However, number of attempts has been taken in the previous course of time, but all those attempts have not made any significant progress in reducing this trade deficit with China. Chinese companies have a big share in Indian mobile and electronic market. So on that front also, government is considering the measures to curb the Chinese imports from electronic segments as well. On the other hand, Government of India is also creating the positive and conducive environment for domestic productions or domestic manufacturers to invest and participates in mobile phones and electronic markets. As we all know about the PLI scheme, under which Government of India is also attracting the number of other companies to come and manufactured in India. And if we remember, number of companies have shown their expression of interest for participating in that PLI scheme to manufacture their product in Indian soil. On the other hand, India is also reviewing the free trade agreement with other countries because China maximum time use the free trade agreement, that is also called as FTA. India has signed with other countries to sell there, to import their product to Indian local market. So in order to curb that, India is also reviewing the FTA with other countries so that China cannot use those FTA to import or dump their product to Indian local market. And in that relation, if we remember that India has walked out of the negotiation of Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, that is also called as RCEP. Many of you may have remembered this agreement, but if we quickly want to revise this agreement, so Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership was a proposed agreement between member states of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and its free trade agreement partners. So it was a proposed agreement between ASEAN plus six FTA agreements partner or six FTA partners of ASEAN. And who were the six FTA partners of ASEAN members or ASEAN countries? It was Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea and India. But before this RCEP took the shape, India has walked out of this RCEP agreement because of certain concern. So that regional comprehensive economic partnership was proposed in financial year 2011. This pact aims to cover the trade in goods and services both. So ASEAN was trying to create a regional partnership including all ASEAN members and 6 FTA partners of ASEAN. So if you can see that ASEAN has these free trade agreements with 6 countries. So ASEAN countries wanted to combine all these free trade agreements into one regional partnership. However, India has walked out from this negotiation because of certain very important and significant consideration. And what were the consideration of India? If we jot down, so India was raising the flags on exclusion of India's IT sector from this deal. On the other hand, India was apprehensive from China and Australia as well as New Zealand. Why? Because India know that China has a significant presence and strength in case of electronic goods manufacturing. And Australia and New Zealand country are strong in agriculture, milk products, fishes and poultry. So India was in apprehension that in this deal, this negotiation or this economic partnership may outflow the import in Indian market with no substantial increase in export. Why? Because China has a strong presence in electronic segment, Australia and New Zealand has a strong presence in agriculture, milk product, fisheries and poultries. On the other hand, IT service sector of India has not been given the due consideration as India was asking about. So because of all these prime concern, India has walked out of this partnership, and this partnership left as ASEAN plus 5 FTA rather than ASEAN plus 6 FTAs. So now come back to the news. As we were discussing that India has already walked out of the negotiation of RCEP, and the China was the prime reason for this because there was no safeguard against the further rise in the export from that country to India. India is also using a stringent quality standard and check in order to contain the inflow of goods from China. One set of likely measures is aimed at preventing the Chinese companies from participating in contract for infrastructural project, and for this country is going to use the principle of reciprocity. What does this principle of reciprocity says? Principle of reciprocity says that if Indian companies face curbed in applying for the contract in particular country, say A, then companies from countries A will also face curb on participating in Indian infrastructure or heavy machinery projects. So now India is going to invoke the principle of reciprocity so that number of Chinese firms can be restricted to participate in Indian infrastructural projects. If you remember the yesterday news, Delhi Metro Rail Transport project, in that one Chinese firm has won the bid by L1 price quotation. But now that project is reconsidered by Indian side. So number of other restriction can be imposed in case of infrastructural projects, and the first is going to on road projects. And even in many cases, Law and Road Ministry is considering to counter of the new bid documents. BSNL and MTNL has already been told to cancel the contract given to all these Chinese firms in case of supply of the 4G equipment. And we have already discussed about the infrastructure project cost less than 200 crores. So government is also going to release or relax the new guidelines for participation of the local domestic manufacturers. So all these measures are going to be adopted by Indian side in order to curb the or decrease the economic dependence on China or Chinese firms. Now look it into the article number 2. Economic signals show India set to bounce back PM. Yesterday, our Prime Minister has launched the auction of 41 coal blocks for commercial mining under Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme or mission. In that event, Prime Minister said that economic indicators are showing that India is ready for a swift bounce back on business activity and demands are back to the level seen before COVID-19 pandemic. On the other hand, PM was very enthusiastic about the opening of coal sector for commercial mining. He said it would be another big leap for sector which was once mired in scam and excessive state control and inefficiency. So as per the PM, opening of the coal blocks for commercial mining may increase the efficiency of the coal mining or mining industry. On the other hand, it will reduce the corruption and scam. The auction is expected to attract approximately 33,000 crore investment over 5 to 6 years. And if we talk about the timing, this auction is taking place at a time when the economic activity is fast returning to normal. As per the PM, consumption and demand are fast attaining to the pre-COVID-19 level. And as per him, there cannot be the better time for beginning of this coal auction. And India is going to turn up this COVID-19 crisis into an opportunity as per our Prime Minister. Prime Minister has also talked about the rural economy and said that crop planting is 30% more than the last year. On the other hand, wheat output and procurement are also higher, which will give the more money in the hands of farmer. That will eventually increase the rural demand. So rural economy is going to provide the cushion to Indian economy and will help the overall economy to bounce back. So as per the PM, all these indicators tells us that the Indian economy is ready to bounce back and march forward. Now look at into the article number 3. Government bulk drug schemes may allow export too. Recently, Government of India has proposed a new scheme to boost up the domestic manufacturing of active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is also called as API. Under this scheme, Government of India is going to infuse approximately 10,000 crore rupees. That will encourage the local manufacturers of active pharmaceutical ingredients, intermediaries and key starting material used in the productions of drug and cut dependence on China. At an initial level, this scheme was only for domestic demand. Exports were restricted under this newly proposed scheme. But later, several pharmaceutical lobby group has also asked for inclusion of export under this scheme so that locally made active pharmaceutical ingredients can also be exported. So now India's think tank, that is Niti Aayog, has suggested that the scope should be widened for this newly proposed core scheme on API. And that should encourage the exporters of these bulk drugs so that they can also export the API, locally made API, to other countries. While the idea was to satisfy the domestic demand so that India does not have to rely on any other country, but Niti Aayog and several pharma groups suggested that industry be allowed to export API also. It should not only be limited up to the domestic demand. So it is quite expected that now Government of India is going to tweak its core scheme on API and going to allow the export of locally made API to other countries. This export will generate the further revenue for Indian economy. However, this step should be taken after making sure that there are enough supply to satisfy the local demand. If local demand is not satisfied, in that case, export is not going to help. Why? Because if local demand is not satisfied, the local pharmaceutical companies will eventually land upon Chinese firms for their need of active pharmaceutical ingredients. That is why the first step should be the satisfaction of the domestic demands. And if we talk about the Indian pharmaceutical industry, India pharmaceutical industry is the third largest in the world, but reliance of India on Chinese for crucial raw material makes the Indian drug companies more vulnerable to supply disruptions triggered by the different international events, especially events happening in China. That is why Government of India has initiated this scheme, but now this scheme is going to widen for inclusion of export also. Now look at into the article number 4. EPFO cuts back on debt equity play as lockdown hurts inflow. EPFO stands for Employee Provident Fund Organization. So now your today's question is, write about Employee Provident Fund on comment section. what is the basic mandate of this EPFO organization and what it does. Now come back to the news. The Employee Provident Fund Organization, India's biggest debt investor, has cut its investment in bonds and equity in the past 5 weeks as contributions to the corpus decline and claim raised due to the sudden disruption in the salary income on account of the national-wide lockdown due to the COVID-19. So EPFO used to be the biggest debt investors. Whatever contribution EPFO used to get from the salaried person, salaried individual, invested in a debt segment. But because of the salary cuts, because of the income cuts, EPFO is not getting the enough collection, and because of that, contribution to the corpus is also declined. If EPFO do not have the enough contribution, then how EPFO will be able to invest in the debt market in the forms of debt and equity? The fund is estimated to have half its investment to about 500 crore since May. As per the senior executive involved in EPFO decision making, in May alone, it invested about 400 crore compared to an average of 8,000 to 9,000 crore every month prior to the lockdown. So in May, EPFO has contributed or invested in debt market approximately 4,000 crore. What is the general average of EPFO? General average of EPFO is 8,000 to 9,000 crore per month. So because of the salary income deductions, increment reductions, EPFO is not getting the proper contribution. If EPFO is not getting the proper contribution, then EPFO is not able to invest in debt market and equity. The decline in the contribution is leading to the equities bearing brunt as the EPFO is turning more risk averse with the uncertainty of second wave of infections and likely financial stress for companies. On the other hand, because of the uncertainty, EPFO is also turning the risk aversive. So the equity market is also bearing the brunt by this reduction in the collection or contribution. And if we see the data, EPFO is estimated to have invested about 5,000 crore since May. In the current scenario, the investment make up only 30 to 40% of the shares of contribution. It means in the current scenario, EPFO is only contributing 30 to 40% of its total contribution into the equity and debt market. Even in the months of May, approximately 10,000 crore claims have been settled by EPFO, that you can easily see the investment is declining. In general scenario, usually half of the contribution that EPFO gets go towards the investment and other half is used for settlement of the dues. But because of the shutdown, the contribution is EPFO has decreased, and because of that decreased contribution, EPFO is also not able to make any investment and trying to be risk aversive. So currently the contribution of EPFO has declined from 50% to 30 to 40% only. Now look at into the article number 5. Diamond traders on the edge as border standoff may hit exports. We have already discussed gems and jewelries are one of the very important item that India export to other countries, especially China. So diamond traders said an escalation of India and China border tension can hit exports further as China and Hong Kong together accounts for 35% of diamond shipment from India. So if this border issue escalate, then the diamond merchant or business is going to be affected minimum as 35%. Why? Because China and Hong Kong alone accounts for 35% of India's total diamond export to other countries. India's gems and jewelry export plunged nearly 84% year-on-year basis in April-May, ongoing the trade disruption caused by COVID-19, while the fall in export of cuts and polished diamond was more than 79%. So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, India's gems and jewelry export has also plunged, and it has plunged up to 84% to 79%. The unrest in Hong Kong over its ties with China is also exacerbated the crisis by curtailing the retail sales of diamonds. So number of factors: COVID-19 related economic lockdown, Hong Kong's ties with China, border tension with India and China, between India and China, all these factors are actually affecting the export of diamonds, especially gems and jewelries, to other countries. And if we talk in terms of quantum, India's overall gross export of gems and jewelry in the first 2 months of this fiscal stood at $572.18 million, comparison to the previous year that was 4,328.54 crore. It means down of approximately 83.68%. So it is going to be the huge loss for diamond merchants in India. Now you have one question. Write down the name of city which is called as Diamond City of India. Write your answer into the comment section below. And all these are the data about the reductions into gems and jewelry segment that we have already discussed, and you can go through it once. All these are the references. That's all for today. If you like, please share and subscribe. Thank you, students.